things.
You might have to.
I've got one right online. Didn't have a note on it.
Don't have any notes. I'm lucky I got anything on paper. Last weekend when I was going to do the PowerPoint, I came down here and the server was on.
I'm getting
It's one of those new servers. There's no any fire alarm was going on.
Everybody ready, Ari? Call to order the Bucksport Town Council meeting for Thursday, May 27th at the Bucksport Town office. Welcome, everybody. Okay, roll call.
Councilor Eastman?
Here.
Don't believe Councilor Morrison is present yet. Deputy Mayor Bissonnette?
Here.
Mayor Stewart?
Here.
Councilor Ormsby? Here. Councilor Downs?
Here.
Councilor Rankin?
Here. Next item is presentation of Town Council recognitions. We have Spirit of America Award 2021. Sue?
Yes, if you remember, back in the day when we weren't meeting face-to-face, we did our 2020 Spirit of America Award for Sandy and Dawn at the Enterprise, and we've never had an opportunity to do a presentation, and I would like to schedule that to do at our next council meeting for them. Number one, and the second reason this is on is that we need to do a Spirit of America designation for 2021, and so I'm looking for ideas from councilors on who they think would be an appropriate recipient. So if any of you have any ideas?
You just email that to Sue if you got something now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, in my mind, Spirit of America would be like Rich Rotella, everything he's done, always doing, above and beyond his job, but in the community with the kids, that's, in my mind, the ideal Spirit of America.
I could agree with that. Good choice.
Very good with that. All righty, then we'll schedule that for Rich, and we'll do Dawn and Sandy's at the next council meeting as well. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. Item 4 is consider minutes of previous meetings. We have council minutes from 5/13/2021. How the council like to proceed? Motion approved. Second. All those in favor? Oh, look at that, I can have you. That's pretty awesome. We'll use that a lot tonight, Jake. Don't worry about it. Next is receive and review correspondence. Got Down East ridership and 3 police calls in Orland, 1 on 5/14 and 2 on 5/15. Anything special on those, Chief, or reports cover themselves, right?
Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? All right. Next is ordinances to consider and introduce. We have a second reading of the smart ahead of myself. I can't do this. Second reading of the contract zone for map 1 lot 3 and lot 5 and map 36 lot 5 to allow development of a 5 megawatt solar project. We will have a public hearing on this later on this evening. So 7 discussion items. First is cemetery committee. Kathy?
Yes, we had a cemetery committee meeting tonight, and we had the discussion of increasing the cemetery, each cemetery in the town by $200. Some cemeteries would get $300, so they go to $500. Some cemeteries get 4, would go to 6. And that is our recommendation to the council, that we do that, number 1. And then we did an update on 917 River Road, where we've had the highway department there and have cleared the lot somewhat so we can do the radar penetrating system, which should be done within the next week and a half, and we should have some update on that.
Great. Any questions? So we'll see resolve at next meeting on the cemetery increase. Perfect. Thanks.
Actually, since we're doing the budget, and this is part of the budget, what I would just do is change those figures for the budget that you
Everybody okay with that?
that you send the public hearing for next
Perfect.
the next meeting, if that works okay. It doesn't really need to be resolved.
Right,
we're not doing
right,
anything
right.
mid-year. We're just amending the budgeted amounts.
Yep. But I guess we actually could have done that when we got to the budget and added it anyway, so that's what we're sure. Next item, item 8's agenda items, resolve 2021-64 to approve the expenditure of $9,195 for heat pump installations by Valley Home Services at the Senior Center. Council like to proceed?
Motion approved. Second.
Motion is second. Any further?
Bill Foster is here from our Senior Center Director. If any councilors have any questions, he obtained all the quotes and talked to all the people who came and measured.
And this is what you're looking for, right, Bill? I know we talked last time, you looked at the 3, I think. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the quote that we got in, that was, the lowest, including, we had one that was a little bit lower, but it didn't include the electrical.
Right. And that would have been quite a lot to it.
And I
Sure.
really hope you go to this one.
And I saw that you're also opening your doors next week, or?
Yeah, we're having a grand reopening Wednesday, June 2nd.
Nice, nice.
Anybody wants lunch, come on up.
All right, thank you. Anything further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item 9 is the signing of the RSU 25 school. Oh,
I'm sorry, we have an 8B, the addition of,
I didn't see the, which one was that?
yes, you did.
I'm sure I
I sent you, honest, I sent it to all of you, the one in regard to the street sweeper
Oh, yes, yes.
items.
Probably I just didn't want to see.
I thought that might be it, but I'm hoping that we can add it to the agenda since we have it one day.
He's been saving up 14 months.
I know that.
Yeah, cha-ching, right? All right. Resolve 8B is to award the bid for sweeper truck to Viking Sibs for a street sweeper. Price was $256,516. Hopefully everybody's seen the resolve. Would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second. Motion is second. Go ahead.
Could we have a motion to add it to the agenda first?
Motion to add it to the agenda. Second.
See, I'm way out of sorts here. You keep me straight.
I'm sorry, it's just that we really need to follow the process.
We do. We have a motion and a second to add to the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, motion passes. Now that we have that on the agenda, resolve 2165 to award the bid for street sweep truck to Viking Sibs for the amount of $256,516. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion. Second.
Motion is second. Comments?
I'm asking to fund this over it's got a 25-year minimum lifespan, but to fund it over 7 years from Highway Equipment Reserve, we, this year paid off one of our truck loans that we had financed, and the amount of this payment is a little bit lower than what that truck loan, so there's no impact to the budget in terms of how much we're already appropriating to Equipment Reserve, because we've done this rolling loan process instead of just depleting all our reserves at once.
And by doing this now, are we potentially saving 45,000?
We're saving more like $60,000, because if we were to have one built, number one, there's at least a year's lag time on getting a chassis right now because of that. But the other thing is that the price tag on the non-demonstrator model is in excess of $300,000. And this one, we have the ability, if we accept it at $256,000, to sell our old one for $8,000 to $10,000, and that money also defrays the cost of what we have to borrow.
And Jay, we're locked in on this till tomorrow,
We have until tomorrow to confirm,
or it's probably going to be gone.
or it's open to the entire country.
I gotta ask, did you guys, and I remember seeing some stuff, but did you get numbers and stuff on actually renting them and stuff that we use?
We did. I don't have them good tonight, but it was
I remember seeing some things, and they were pretty outrageous.
I think for a month.
$12,000 a month if we could find one to rent. It was in excess of $12,000 a month.
They're almost impossible to find, to rent on a short-term basis.
So
Not like an annual.
here's a question. I work in another town, and I see that they rent out, they rent from a company. Are we in a position to sell ours out to rent?
if another community wanted to, if Orland said,
And in
what would
3
it
days,
cost to hire us to sweep? We could do that with the permission of the council. We generally, we have to report to you guys if the cruiser goes across the bridge. So if we send the street sweeper someplace, you might get some calls.
hey, if we're making $100 an hour, I'll let it go anywhere.
Well, I'm just saying that it would you'd need to have a discussion about
Yes,
that,
okay.
doing that kind of thing.
But it's not out of the order.
It's not, but the other thing that this street sweepers use, other departments utilize this. It cleans up accident scenes. It wets down construction sites. It does the cleanup in the fall, and it's not out just once a year. It's out a considerable amount of time. So we certainly could entertain if some other community within, or would prefer not to send it beyond just our immediate area. But just because the odds of something bad happening to her, the further it gets from our orbit, increase. So that, but if Orland or Roan or somebody needed something, certainly we would work with them like we do on everything else.
Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. So we'll see Jim. Jimmy still hasn't.
We have not seen him.
Item 9, signing of the RSU 25 school unit budget validation referendum for June 8th, 2021.
You have a
And
copy of that.
that will be just for us to sign at the end.
No, that's just
I
for
have
the
to sign
sign.
now.
I'll pass it around right now, and you can. This is a luxury that we've not had in a year, that we've done something and you could actually sign it when it happened.
Yeah.
And I haven't been calling people on Monday saying, did you forget us? Can you please come down and sign this? So right down here at the bottom is where you sign. We'll just send it
Yep.
around. Thank you.
All right. Item 10 is approval of quick claims, discharges, deeds. We don't have any. Item 11 is the town manager report.
Okay. I'm happy to report that the marina is open for business and our seasonal slips are starting to fill back up. We had our first cruise ship visit to the town dock this year, last week as well, and that went smoothly. I want to thank everybody who participated in the community cleanup on May 15th. Public Works picked up almost 2 dump truckloads of bags and debris that was collected by residents, and we appreciate everyone's help in making Bucksport more beautiful. On Tuesday, I recorded a podcast with the American City and County Group to talk about Bucksport and how it responded during the pandemic and how it is moving forward. They're doing podcasts with other communities in the country as well, but I am pleased that we were asked, based on information that they had about our Pay It Forward program, the fact that we never stopped serving customers, and that we have continued to move projects forward despite the challenges of the pandemic. I'm not sure when it's going to air, but we'll provide that information when they let me know. We received 150 applications for the front office clerk position. Of those 150, approximately 60 had experience or skill sets that could transfer to this kind of a job. We narrowed it down to 17 and started the interview process this week, and we'll be doing notifications by mid next week of second interviews. But this is somewhat like drinking from a fire hose. We had an overwhelming response, and I think that speaks well to who we are as a community and what people see as the kind of jobs we provide. Finally, under the spring fountain, the owner of the property has retained an attorney, and we are awaiting information from the court on the appeal that has been filed. In the meantime, there have been no contractors on the site doing any work towards resolving issues that were identified as part of the dangerous buildings hearing and order. That is where we That's the end of that.
Thanks. Any questions? Next is public hearings, hold public hearings, approve licenses and permits. First thing we'll do is have a public hearing on the contract zone for map 1, lot 3, and lot 5, and map 36, lot 5 to allow development of a 5 megawatt solar project. Public hearing is open. Any comments? Anybody?
Could we just have an explanation of where it is so that folks will know where we're talking about?
So it's just north of the old mill site on the opposite side of the road.
Adjacent to the landfill,
Adjacent to the
and
landfill.
it's where the power line goes through. Our code officer's here too. They have been to the planning board, been through a public hearing process at the planning board, and the planning board approved it, which is what gets it. But it's conditional on this zone being contract zone for this purpose for the life of this project. And the name of the project is Amoresco. They're also looking to the town and the RSU for potentially, it acts like a community solar. It's not purchasing power, but it's through the credits that are thing where we have a line of entities that want us to do that right now for these new community solar projects. But it is, they have a lease with AIM, who's the landowner of the project, and that land ownership is not changing. That's correct. The land ownership is staying the same with AIM Development, and that's their proposal. They have been through their central Maine process and all of our other local processes here.
I stated last week or the week before our last meeting, I don't know if this isn't the right way to do it. I don't think it's the right thing we should be doing. There was an initial thought of putting housing up there in that area. And again, we don't own the property, but I have a hard time of putting a solar farm up there that's going to be up there for 20 to 30 to 40 years when we are screaming for acreage for housing. And that was the initial thought that we were told by groups that was going to go up there. Now it's switched. And again, I understand that we don't own the property, but I still think, in my opinion, that there's a chance that we should wait and see if we can get some folks to come up here and want to develop that in a different way than a solar farm. So.
Is our economic development director here? Hi, Rich. We had also, if you could come up, we had talked about the challenges to this site for housing, being the power line and the proximity to the landfill that has been an issue with that type of development, or finding developers who were interested in that. Is that correct, Rich?
Yeah, so the ADAPT plan that the town acquired from the, with the help of the MDC into the government, identified that location. That's a 33-acre parcel that abuts Drake's Lane, and it's to the left of the power line property that Verso formerly owned and AIM now owns. We identified that as workforce housing due to its proximity to the site and the fact that it is zoned residential. But there was no study done on that, no impact study to the neighbors who currently reside there. Susan, Peter is correct, the mayor is correct that we are lacking housing and workforce housing. We do have some other areas that we can consider, including the new Park Street Broadway extension. But housing is a serious concern in this town, thus is workforce development. And without any of that changing, we're starting to see the ripple effects right now with current businesses, some of them who are entertaining going elsewhere where they can find a workforce. So that's where we're at.
On your meeting, Luke, was there any abutters there that showed up at your public hearing?
we had very little, very little communication from the abutters.
Okay.
There was one fella that's the closest to it, has an in-ground pool back there, and he has a lot of flowers and stuff he's been tending for years, but they're technically on the mill's property. And then the mill agreed, or Amoresco agreed, to pull the fence lines back behind those flower beds and rhododendrons and stuff, and allow that to all stay, and that made him happy.
Okay.
Other than that, any real, and I sent out a lot of butter letters trying to get them to respond, and a lot of them just didn't.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing? I mean, I do think out there's gotta be issues where we don't have power, or we don't have water and sewer out there either. You know, that will be a challenge for development.
Anything else? All right. Anything else from the public? Close the public hearing. Public council like to proceed?
Motion approved?
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion doesn't carry. Next item is liquor license, Verona Wine and Design. Public council like to proceed?
Motion approved?
Second.
Anything further from the public, from the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next is a festival license, Bucksport Pride, June 12th, 2021, Festival on the Waterfront. Public council like to proceed?
Motion approved? Second?
A motion is second. Anything from the public?
Hi, do I need to step up or
Please.
up here?
Yep.
Awesome. Bring some props.
Just
Hi,
your name?
my name is Derek Cole,
Okay, thank you.
and I'm a member of Bucksport Pride, a small committee that's formed around the planning to get this off the ground. Bucksport Pride is a group of citizens who have joined together with the intention of promoting the affirmation, dignity, equality, security, visibility, and community participation of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer adults and youth and their allies in Bucksport, Maine, and the surrounding region. We are planning and producing a thoughtful and worthy celebration of LGBTQ+ pride in Bucksport this June 2021. We are excited to be mounting this first annual celebration of pride in Bucksport and looking at it as an opportunity to create friendships, increase understanding, and affirm and develop a safe, nurturing community for all of our residents and visitors. Bucksport Pride pledges to continue building a community with civility, compassion, and love, which welcomes, appreciates, and supports the broad spectrum of diversity in our human family. We are excited to have the support of and also a fiscal partnership with the Health Equity Alliance, or HEAL. HEAL is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization providing direct service and advocacy with and on behalf of people in Maine who live with HIV, people who use drugs, and our LGBTQ+ community. HEAL are also the organizers of Bangor Pride. Saturday, June 12th, if permitted, we'll be hosting Bucksport Pride Celebration 2021, an evening of live music, festivities, and a pizza and ice cream social on the waterfront. Additionally, we are engaging with Bucksport residents and businesses, asking them to fly pride flags for the month of June through a program with Equality Maine that CNP has actually given Equality Maine 2,000 flags to hand out to communities that want them. Bucksport Pride 2021 will benefit our local LGBTQ+ youth. A portion of the proceeds that we collect from donations at the event, and also donations for Pride 2021 buttons, will be donated to the Gay Straight Alliances at both the Bucksport High School and the Reach School. As a Bucksport resident and a father of 2 young children and a husband to a former ladybug, my partner and I see the need for communities to promote a culture of love and acceptance for all, regardless of gender, sexuality, or race. This is so much more than a celebration.
It is our way of telling Bucksport's community, youth and adults that they are loved and welcome here. Just hoping to build on that. I think we already do a pretty darn good job of that. We also hope to build upon the efforts of our now closed Chamber of Commerce to bring new people into town and money into our local businesses. We have also been inspired by Bucksport Heart and Soul's community-generated action plans. We have had conversations with Bucksport's Public Safety Department and Code Enforcement and understand that they are ready to sign off on the event and our plans. We thank them for their support and for their patience as we work through the planning process with them. It's been great. Now we ask for your support. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Deputy Chief, you guys are all set up, you got your questions answered?
Yes, sir.
I will speak.
I'm sorry, I heard somebody else say something.
I will speak
Oh, okay.
briefly. Good evening, councilors and Manager Lassard. My name is Katie Hessler. I'm a Bucksport resident and an ally of the LGBTQ community. I'm on the Bucksport Pride Steering Committee. I'm here to support the festival on June 12th and our banner application for the month of June. I'm an ally because I believe in the inherent worth of all in our community. I'm also a librarian at Ellsworth High School, and in that role have been involved with the Ellsworth High School GSDA, which is the Gender and Sexuality Diversity Alliance. And I've had the good fortune to meet with our own Bucksport High School GSA, Gay Straight Alliance. Both are inspiring groups of students. Through these opportunities, and as someone who respects facts and data, I'm going to share with you a few brief statistics from the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey, which is conducted biannually by the Maine DHHS and the Maine Community. This represents students from Maine in our 5th through 12th grades. The 2019 survey indicates that 13.6% of Maine students identify as LGBTQ. That is nearly 1 in 7 Maine students. Unfortunately, LGBTQ students experience more violence and discrimination at school, at home, and in the community, including they're twice as likely to feel unsafe at school, they're twice as likely to be bullied at school, and they're 8 times as likely to experience offensive comments or attacks at or on their way to school because of their perceived sexual orientation. They are less likely to have support from adults and more likely to experience violence. I will not go through all the statistics with you, but I do have a copy if you would be interested. LGBTQ students face many challenges and fewer supports. Their mental health outcomes are significantly worse. The statistic that speaks to me the most is that LGBTQ students are nearly 4 times more likely to have seriously considered suicide in the past year. In coping with violence and discrimination, a significant number of LGBTQ students turn to harmful substance use. LGBTQ students are significantly more likely to turn to the substance abuse and to cope with the abuse and dignities. I would love for Bucksport Pride to be a celebration, but instead, as you see from these statistics, it is a necessity. Until these differences are erased, our students and the adults they grow to be require our support. All deserve to be treated with dignity and respect in our community, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, and I expect that you will recognize this by approving our proposals. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else? Chief? Oh.
Good evening, everyone. I'm David Wida. I'm a resident of Bucksport, and I actually want to read from some good friends of mine first. This says, "Dear councilors, we'd like to add our voices in support of Bucksport Pride's application for a permit for their June 12th celebration. Our community has gay and straight kids, all of whom deserve to be embraced, supported, welcomed, encouraged, loved, and accepted. That's what we do for our citizens here. Being gay, straight, trans, that's not a choice. That's being our true selves, being the humans we are meant to be.
please approve this permit application so we can continue to show that Bucksport is proud of all of our kids, everyone. Thank you, former Counselor David and Pollocky. And I think back to the day I met them. Pollocky was in that corner. I walked through this door for the Democratic caucus, and she came sailing from that corner and said, "Who are you? Why haven't I met you yet? And why are you in Bucksport, Maine?" And that ultimately led to a delightful relationship that allowed us to put Wednesday on Main together. I've been here since 2003. I come from a background of involvement with human rights work since I was in my early 20s. In fact, I count this as my 42nd year of working as an advocate for human rights of all kinds, significantly and primarily for the LGBTQ community. I was able to comfortably come out at age 19 in college and was lucky enough to have an incredibly supportive family and an incredibly supportive college atmosphere. So it was easy for me to just assimilate into a life of recognizing the needs to make it easier for others struggling with that issue. I have a broad optimistic notion that we can each have a worthy impact on our community if we work together with civility, compassion, and love. This is a moment for Bucksport to be on the right side of history and vote in favor of civility, compassion, and love. It is our responsibility to create communities which are safe and nurturing for all of our children. Let's acknowledge and celebrate the beautiful diversity which comprises our one human family. When we affirm the value and worth of our youth and nurture their self-esteem, we are doing the opposite of bullying. We must give them the beautiful gift of hope for a bright and fulfilling future full of promise and love. I'm hoping this will be a unanimous vote by our town council. All we want is the necessary permit to stage a joyful celebration of LGBTQ folks and their allies in the Bucksport region. Millions of people all over the world, including folks throughout down East Maine, have been celebrating Pride during June for over 50 years. We know how to throw a fun party. The proposed celebration, if approved, will take place on the Bucksport waterfront on Saturday, June 12th. We hope that prideful partiers from all around our region will join us for a fun afternoon and evening with great live music, pizza, and ice cream. This will be a family-friendly and COVID-safe event with something fun for all ages. And amidst all of the celebrating, those of us who are doing this will not take our eyes off the prize. We are most pleased to be staging our Pride celebration as a benefit for our local youth. A portion of our proceeds will be donated to the Gay Straight Alliance groups at the Reach School and Bucksport High School. As we negotiated that relationship over the last few weeks, several of us have been honored to attend their meetings. And as a 62-year-old man watching on a Zoom call the high school students in my new home of Bucksport, Maine for the last 17 years, I can't really tell you how moving it was to see those kids look at the camera so I could see their faces and have for them say, wow, there are adults who are supporting us in our community. I couldn't help but imagine what I would have done at age 16 or 17 in high school in Leavenworth, Kansas, if I had had the opportunity to be meeting with my peers in a school setting where I felt loved and supported and encouraged to pursue my own identity with the support of my school and my community. So I think this is such an opportunity for Bucksport to say to our young people, we recognize you, we welcome you into the interactions of our social community, and we want you to feel safe, comfortable, and loved. I will really thank you tremendously if you can let us have this celebration for Pride in 2021. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Chief?
Just real quickly, to put it on the record, as you are all aware, we are short-staffed at this point. We do support any event that you support on the Bucksport waterfront, no matter what it is. That weekend, we have one patrol person working on the weekend, and we have 12 days to try to get someone to work this event. So I want to let everyone know we will be there to support it. We will be there to work it if we can. But if we get complaints and we've only got one person working, that may take us some time to get there if an unfortunate event takes place. So just so that it's on the record, we will do our best to fill it, to have somebody there to protect everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
David, what do you, for the rest of the proceeds, like, what are you planning on doing with that?
We really are a grassroots group of people. And we talked early on about, do we want to establish ourselves as a not-for-profit agency? What do we want to do? Time moves fast, and it came time to say, well, we need to put our program together and do this. That's why we went under the umbrella of the HEAL, the Health Equity Alliance in Bangor, for our insurance needs for the festival on the waterfront. We knew right away that we would give proceeds, so we really are keeping all of our receipts for everything and paying off, printing bills, magic markers, whatever we're using as just the nuts and bolts of pulling this together. I'm so pleased to say we're getting tremendous contributions from various entities. I think it's going to be on our posters, so I'm happy to announce with great joy that Bucksport House of Pizza has promised us enough pizza to feed 100 people at a 50% discount, and that cost, whatever that ends up being, will be covered by the Unitarian Universalist Church in Castine as well as the Unitarian Universalist Church in Ellsworth. So those two UU churches stepped up and said, we'll pay for the pizza. You got a great price on the pizza, we'll pay for it. The button sales are $5 for a button. We've already paid for the buttons, and we in fact decided today we'll probably have to do another order. The first order was 300 buttons. We've sold almost all of them. When people hear that it's going to the GSAs for the students, they buy buttons. What we would like to do is have a conversation with, we have several attorneys that are affiliated with us. We would like to do the standard, what I would call traditional allocating of any money that is brought in to determine what would be seed money for next year to keep in an account. I can't even extrapolate what that amount would be, but there would be no effort on, the 8 people on our core committee are, I don't think anybody's interested in saying, I want to watch that fund over the year. I think we'll find somebody to hold it until we get our own account as a not-for-profit agency. But the significant portion then of all of the proceeds will be split 50-50 between the Reach School and the Bucksport High School. And full transparency, all of our receipts will be kept and scanned and stored.
Anything else?
If I may clarify, just to add to what you said, I mentioned when I was speaking that the Health Equity Alliance has joined us as a fiscal partner as well. Because of the hurdles that we would have to jump over where we're not a nonprofit, none of us wanted to have a bank account in our names. We didn't feel as though that was ethical. Health Equity Alliance has stepped up, and ultimately, between our group and their accounting folks, they are holding our funds in an account for us. So again, full transparency. We're doing, I think, more than we even need to just make sure that this money goes where it's supposed to go.
Okay. Anything else? Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next is Bucksport Bay Business Coalition Festival License Music at the Marina. The council like to proceed? Motion approved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments?
This application is, in public safety, Kim, there's some more details to work on this, Luke, in terms of how the idea of alcohol being served would be, I think some of that has been addressed through things, but I don't believe that there's an actual date set for these yet. The purpose of this is to find out if the council is supportive of this concept on the waterfront, and if so, then additional work needs to happen on dates and alcohol. Is that correct, Luke?
Yeah, we need to coordinate, alcohol sales. The idea is that Warren's would be catering the event, so that's where the alcohol license would be. There'd have to be some type of braceling with ID checks, fencing, probably 2 layers of fencing, one.
So
Yeah.
this is more conceptual. Are we in agreement in doing this, and
conceptual. We
then
don't
when they
even-
get the true dates, then they'll come back to us?
And the other thing is I received an email from our harbor master marina manager earlier this afternoon that asked that in future, we've had relatively few applications for events on the waterfront of any significant size that have required shutting things down and those kind of things. And we all want, part of our plan has been to drive traffic to our waterfront and have more activities on it. And if we're going to do that we also need to coordinate with, oh my God, that's the big dog. I'm sorry. There's an elephant walking by now.
I got a half Newfoundland. That's a big dog.
That we need to, he asked that we now are a regular stop on the cruise ship route, and that involves buses picking up people at the dock, which means if we need to coordinate with our marina and our waterfront dock before we talk about shutting things down. The Pride event is not a conflict. We talked to him about that, but in future, we'll be adding a review by our dock and waterfront personnel ahead of time because it could conflict with when buses were going down, needed to pick up people from cruise ships or that kind of thing too. So that's just another piece of our growth, which is how are we going to handle larger events on a hopefully ongoing basis on our waterfront, and whether that's managing our marina dock stuff or if we routinely get events where we're having many hundreds of people, we need to talk about how to incorporate public safety, both fire and police, as on hand for very large events.
Sure.
Just and again, we're in a growth spurt here, and we're trying to grow so that everybody, we're.
So on this one here, I would suggest we table it until we, as long as everybody's okay with the concept of them coming forward with another.
I think the message to them, if you vote favorably, is that you would support the idea of these kind of events when they work that out. Is that?
I think that's where we're all at, isn't it?
Is that right? What they're looking for, Luke? Is
I think so. I mean, she doesn't have any bands scheduled. She doesn't have any dates scheduled.
So when she gets the dates and stuff, let's fill out another application to actually vote on a date. I'd rather do that than
True, but I think she's looking at doing it a lot more than once. And I
Sure.
don't know if she wants to come every
No,
time.
we can list those out, we've done in the past of number of dates.
If I can, I've been working with Terry. This is to replace Wednesdays on Main. Paula Keys decided not to move forward with Wednesdays on Main at this point. So the schedule will be around the cruise ships so that it's not conflicting with having buses down there, because the one time we did it with the Bay Festival, a bus hit another vehicle and we don't want to deal with that.
You tell me what you want us to do. Do you want us to vote on this as it comes, or do we?
Well, it's got to be conditionally is the only way it can be done, because as Jacob and I have discussed, there's no insurance yet either.
Okay.
So if the group agrees with the concept, because Terry's not asking for money from the town like
Right.
Wednesdays, I mean, this is all grassroots from Bucksport Bay.
I'm gonna say conceptually, we agree with it, so when they get all their ducks in a row, come back to us. How's that? That work?
That sounds good.
All right. But I really don't see what we're gonna vote on. But doesn't do us any good. All right. Item 13 is discussion of items not on the agenda for the council and the public. Anybody from the public have anything that's not on the agenda? Rich?
Sure.
No, I got a lot of people to thank. As Sue had mentioned, the waterfront's looking great. Ron Gross was able to get the 41 hanging plants up this week, watered all those plants, so that's coming along nicely. The town crew has been amazing. I don't know if you've been up to the playground lately, but all the play chips have been spaced out and everything. That looks great. The town crew's been extremely busy and 110% behind everything we're trying to do with the waterfront and economic development. The electric vehicle charging space is going to be painted soon, and they cleaned out that entire parking lot. We'll have lines again at that public parking lot by the House of Pizza as well. So I just want to thank the entire team for working together and making Bucksport as beautiful as it is. And again, thanks for the cleanup day on the 15th. Day the National Honor Society cleaned out the Buck Cemetery and had over 20 bags of leaves and sticks and pine needles out of there as well. So,
Ron,
yes.
so where do we stand on what we talked about the last time with the waterfront committee and looking at what Luke had brought up as an issue? How are we going to get that going?
I believe that was supposed to be discussed tonight.
Right.
But I don't. I've to maybe submit this up a committee, get some counselors on board while you guys were all in public to get some folks on.
So is that where we want to talk about the committee assignment piece when we get down there? And
I think that's what that was, yes. Because the safety committee is going to be meeting next month, and the waterfront will be one of those places that we visit right off as well.
Okay. Any questions for Rich while he's standing there? You're lucky. Anything else? Anything from the council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just really quickly, just from conversation this evening, I think it probably would be wise for the council to consider as we move forward, given the town manager's comments around the harbor master and making sure that we have conversations about avoiding conflicting events. Might be wise to make sure that we're clear on the prioritization of events. What I mean is if a cruise ship is supposed to come in, or we have something that's involving the marina and another group wants to use the facilities, I think it should be very clear that there are certain events that take precedent over others.
Yep.
And I think it's up to the council to decide that. So that's probably something we should decide. And the other thing I think is security of events. It was the only concern I had this evening with anything that was presented this evening. And I think moving forward, the council would be wise to consider if a certain number of people potentially could be attending an event, which I know is a hard thing to gauge. But the council needs to have a conversation about whether or not it's mandatory to pay for the services of security, or whatever direction we want to go with that, but we should be clear on that.
Chief Kagan and I actually talked about that the other day.
Okay.
So I think it's a matter of figuring out what we're comfortable with and how we're going to look at it. I think the number was the thing that trying to gauge that number of folks that's going to make it over the top. I mean, you know, when the Bay Festival was en route, you had 4 or 5 folks here working, right?
Oh, we had 3 shifts of 5.
Yeah. So I think we just
4 different shifts that day.
I think to Council Bissonnette's, we just got to figure out that number where we want to be, and then, you know, 2 people down there playing the ukulele, I really don't think we need.
Agreed. Yeah, but you know, if there's a group expecting 50 to 100 people,
Right.
if all of a sudden that becomes 500 people, it exponentially grows any risk that we might have. And I think
Well, it does wear on the town resources. We've got to take care of that. So, all right, perfect.
Well, the other thing is, at the arts festival, many of these, they have complaints. Somebody that had something stolen to their tent. There was vandalism. It's not. It doesn't matter what the event is. The larger the number of people, the more opportunity there is that there's. And sometimes just the presence is a deterrent for, and I don't mean an armed guard. I mean just.
Yep.
Our former guy riding up and down the waterfront on his bike is a deterrent,
Yep.
that kind of stuff.
And playing a ukulele, wasn't he?
No, he'd given up the ukulele.
Mr. Mayor, if I can also.
Go, Rich. What do you got? What else you got? Go on.
I forget about all these things.
We're live and in person, man, and you haven't been on TV live for a long time. So go ahead.
Also for the waterfront, keep in mind, we don't have weekend staff. So it's up to those groups to make sure that they take care of the trash to avoid the rat problems that can potentially arise with this.
Okay.
We have one person working the waterfront, and he's Monday through Friday.
Fair enough. Thank you.
That addresses everything that I have.
Awesome. Anybody else? I've commented several times, but I do want to comment that it is nice to see everybody in person and have a full council chamber and come here. So hopefully we can keep going with this. Next item is upcoming public hearings. We've got to set a public hearing. Oh, we already have it for our next meeting. we'll have a public hearing on the adoption of the budget for general fund, sewer, marina. So that will be on our next meeting. I'd also like to figure out what we want to do for waterfront. Are you doing economic development anytime, Rich, or soon?
In June.
In June?
Yes.
It will be before June 10th or after?
After.
What I asked the council, if anybody would like to serve on the waterfront committee, to send me an email, and I'm going to schedule it for 6 o'clock for our next council meeting on the 10th. I just think it's something, Luke, I'd like you to be there too, since you're on it, Rich.
Mike Orbsby would like to be on it as
And
well.
Mike and Jay, yep. So, and then I'll take a couple councilors, obviously, and anybody from the public that's listening. You know, I want to keep it manageable, but I also want to make sure that we're getting input from everybody. So let's plan on meeting on June 10th at 6 o'clock. I work for everybody unless you're playing the state championship game, Rich. So I'll give you a break on that one. Any other committee meetings we're gonna have for anything? Ball field wall, you're all set with that? I mean, they don't think we got anything else right now, right? Okay. Next item is budget review and vote to send to the public hearing.
You have in your packets copies of all the budgets that you reviewed this year as proposed. There were updates in the fuel categories for all the budgets. I went back and did the 3-year average of actual use and plugged in every budget the actual costs that we have. The gas price is an estimate because we have WAC plus, but I again used a 3-year average from that, so we've got some highs and lows in that. So I think that hopefully that addresses one of the perennial questions, which is, you know, how much are we budgeting for this fuel use and how accurate are we being? But other than that, overall, the marina budget is funded entirely by fees from users. There's no tax dollars involved in our marina operation. The proposed sewer budget is actually almost $5,500 less than the prior year. And not because costs have gone down, but because we have a 30% offset now for our electric costs due to the solar array that we have at that facility, and that it's 10,000 less than last year's appropriation, but it's 30,000 less than the appropriation from the year prior. So it's doing its job, and what that reduction has done is help offset labor cost increase that we have for our one employee on that site. Our general fund budget is up. The primary drivers are the debt service related to the road project. That's $178,000, and the fact that we added back in our 5-year paving cost, 5 miles of road a year is what we have to pave in order to avoid having to borrow $3 million to bring our roads back up to par, which is what we did last year. But if we don't do that equivalent amount of mileage, then what happens is what happened before when the town didn't do it for a number of years. They got behind in such a way that our roads were pretty much a mess. And so we're doing the second year of our road project this year, which is the Millvale to Silver Lake from 15 area, and the reclaimed grade pave to put that back together. The next year will be the second part of that, which goes down our final year, the rest of down Silver Lake Road, and our in-town streets that are also reclaimed grade paved to bring the streets so that the sidewalk curb isn't at the same level as the street is, which is what's happened as pavement is put there over time. But we got very advantageous paving prices this year. They were $4 a ton for pavement, less than last year, which is, gives us a lot more bang for a buck. So those two items are in but we knew they were coming. We planned for this event. These were not items that you didn't know about. When the referendum passed for the road project, it included a financial statement that indicated that the debt service would be what it is. And we knew when we didn't, because we paved 19.5 miles of road last year as part of the first catch-up round, we didn't do the 5 miles that we normally do, but we knew that this year we had to start that back up again in order to get ourselves current and stay there. Other than that, there are some changes there to accommodate the significant increase in ambulance related calls primarily, but the pressure on our EMS and fire service and staff is that we've added per diem to, right now we have per diem days. This adds per diem to nights as well. When it comes to the fact that we have some of our salaried staff spending the night in the facility to make sure that there's a driver, we're not doing something correctly. We need to staff appropriately. But while we've applied for grant funding for some additional positions, we are walking, not running at this problem, and the walking part is to add the night per diem in order to better staff that. So there's some additional funding in the budget for that. We added about, another $1,000 to the budget tonight for cemetery funding, but that's
10 cemeteries.
I'm sorry, 2,000. My math skills are bad tonight. For that, to accommodate problems at least one of our private cemeteries is having in being able to mow the cemeteries because they can't use the principal from their funds in there.
And just real quick, I just want to check. There's 4 or 5 of them only appropriate $100, so it's, I don't think we're going to hurt ourselves by giving these folks a couple bills. So.
No, and as we know from the 917 River Road and the other inventory of municipal cemeteries that need attention, the $2,000 will be a drop in the bucket for what we end up eventually doing. But those are really the biggest cost drivers, other than the cost of living raise that goes with our employees, which is concurrent with our collective bargaining agreements, and our public safety budget, I believe, is healthy. We're tasked with 2 new officers, and the training and the staffing that goes along with 2 new people, which is going to, I hope everyone recognizes the yeoman's effort that public safety and right now our police side is doing to make sure that all the shifts are filled, to make sure that our people are on the road, because the loss of 2 certified officers, we have replaced them, but both officers need training, and that's a process, not an event. We have to get them through the academy. But in the meantime, we also have increases in serious types of criminal activity that we also have to deal with. Not that we're different than any other community in that respect, but I want to, as part of this, thank public safety for the year they've given us in COVID response and loss of personnel and what has been for us some very difficult times. this budget is, certainly not extreme in recognizing that, but it attempts to adequately fund what we now need to do in terms of retraining. That's the highs and lows. These are the numbers that you put forward. I would ask that you send this budget to public hearing with that amendment, and on June 10th, the public has, the public can say anything it wants to tonight too, but it has an opportunity as part of the public hearing to weigh in on what they think our spending patterns ought to be or not. I look forward to that in public. We've tried to do Zooming things. This is the second budget we've done in a flat frame, and it's very difficult for everyone to engage in that.
Perfect.
That's the budget.
Any questions?
And there's not a mill rate increase for we would still be at 16.25. The last mill rate increase was July of 2015 as a response to the mill closure when it went to 17.10. And since that time, the mill rate has dropped to 16.25. We still have the majority of the $6 million left.
That's going to be my next question. Can you give us at our next meeting, can you give us a copy or just what our investments look like in different spots, just so I can?
Sure, because you started with 8 million. The town used to in July of 2015 to offset the loss of the mill. In the next fiscal year, the state had recognized the town's new valuation, and our education funding went up, which meant that the town hasn't, and all the town has budgeted for fund balance to be used annually. It never uses what it budgets, because our budgets always are 4 to 5% under, which is where it should be, under expended, so that money returns to that fund instead of takes out of it. So we've stayed pretty close to 6 million since that time, which we've done while doing an awful lot of work in this community in terms of projects, and so I will get you the list of all of our.
We get a motion to send the budget to public hearing?
Motion. Second.
Motion is second. Any further? All those in favor? Opposed? See that on June 10th. Last item, adjournment. Motion. Second. All those in favor? Have a great night, everybody.
I'd like to make a quick announcement, and that is, thank you very much, and we now feel free to open up about who our headliners for music are on Saturday, June 12th. I hope you'll all remember the name Gus LaCase, the young fiddler who has performed 3 times so far in Bucksport, twice on the bill for Wednesday on Main. Both times he was the chief moneymaker for that season of Wednesday on Main, as well as